That's we were like, oh, Umbreon's a dog, and everyone's like, it's clearly a cat, and I'm like, I don't give a shit.
The ultimate rebuttal of I don't give a fuck. Flippis.
There's a childhood story my parents tell about, but particularly my dad tells about me sometimes, where just like me being like a little obnoxiously logical shit. And one of them is at one point he like tried to entice me into like doing some chore, like running to the store for him, like walking over and getting him something. And he's like, oh, if you go do that, I'll give you a nickel. And I said, what am I supposed to do with a nickel? Flip it? And, but like with full piss and vinegar.
What am I supposed to do with a nickel? Flip it?
The other most like, yeah, you grew up to be yourself baby Jello story is I got in trouble in first grade because I refused to write my name on the worksheets, and like it happened so much that like it came up at a PTA meeting, and they were my teacher was like, so Brendan won't write his name on the sheets. And when I asked him, he said, well, if everyone else writes their name at the top of their paper, then mine is the name with no name on it, and it saves me the trouble.
Jesus.
Which is extremely on brand.
So fucking, like, I guess.
You little brat.
Oh, brat. Yeah.
Cool. When's your next Hunger Games gonna start?
I got in trouble in elementary school for biting somebody.
Also very on brand. Did they deserve it?
Yes. I also got in trouble once for I threw a branch at someone so hard that the back of their head split open.
Oh my god!
Oh,
Yeah, that would get you in trouble. Yeah.
Weirdly enough, that is frowned upon. When I was in preschool, I didn't like dirt and getting paint on me or anything like that. I was like, no, this is all bad. And one of the activities that we have been given is like, okay, we're going to set out this long piece of paper, and then you guys take off your socks and whatnot, and you put paint on it and walk across it, and it'll be this fun little thing we post around the building. And I was sitting there like, no, I don't want to do it. And the teacher came over, was like, well, Will, why don't you want to do it? I was like, oh, I don't know. I'm kind of nervous about it. And they're like, well, how about I do it first? And she did the whole thing, and I just went, good job, and I left the room.
I was known in high school and college actually for like never going to, like, this makes me sound like a loser, never going to parties. I got invited, but I hate them because they're loud and they make me very, very mad because they're loud. And it's like, that's a bad environment for me to be in. I don't want to be there. And I also hate having to raise my voice to talk to people all night because it gives me a sore throat. And after a cast party for some show, my friend Evan was like, dude, I know that you like bubble water. So we bought a bunch of bubble water, but because no one else in our extended friend group but you likes it. So you have to come to this party. I was like, okay, I'll come for the bubble water. And I showed up and everyone was like, hey, Blaber's here. I was like, hey, Evan, where's the bubble water? He's like, oh, it's right over there, man. And he had like 2 whole 12 packs of it. And I was like, awesome. Is anyone else going to drink any of this? And they were like, no, haha, it's for you. And I stayed for 15 minutes and took both of the bubble waters and left.
God. I would have kicked your ass if you did that to me at my fucking party.
I think I'm remembering there was a point in my high school education where I was in like the final 2 years of my education, which were optional, right? So you didn't have like a full schedule every day. Some days you would just have totally off, and some days you would only have one lesson. But I had one day where I would have 2 lessons. So I'd have a morning one, I'd have an evening one. And I really hated that I had a morning one because everything else, well, not evening, everything else was afternoon. And I fucking sucked at getting up. So the morning one was biology. And straight up, for the whole year, I can't believe I was this much of a dick about it. But I think for 90% of the lessons, showed up like 20 minutes late to what was like a 45-minute lesson. I would just show up halfway through. And it got to a point where I stopped apologizing. And my teacher, who was really pissed at me about this, I would walk in. She would just watch me walk to my seat. I would sit down, make eye contact with her, and get my stuff out. And I just did that for a whole year. And at one point, she tried to spring a surprise like practice exam on us. So, and I'm pretty sure she did it explicitly to try and catch me out. And and I managed to do well enough on it that when she handed them back out the next week, she literally slammed mine on the desk in front of me and went, ugh. Because it was a B, and I was like, I look back on that, I'm like, I can't believe I was actually so brazenly a dick in that one lesson.
I mean, every once in a while, there's just that moment where it's like, yeah, I'm just gonna be a bad person, I guess.
It wasn't. I liked the teacher as well, and I liked.
Oh,
the
that's
subject.
unacceptable, then.
Yeah, I had nothing against her, and I had nothing against the topic. I literally, the only reason it happened was because I fucking hated waking up in the morning.
Yeah.
I think I've told you guys this story before, but definitely the most on-brand dick move story that I have is when I was in, I want to say I was in like either middle school or like early high school. My parents enrolled me in like a gifted summer program where I basically just went to school over the summer. They sent us to a college up in upstate New York, and we lived in the dorms and we would take classes every day. And there was this one dude who would always try and like tease me or pick fights with me. Clearly he liked me, which, ew. And there was one day where he was really getting on my fucking nerves. I want to say he was like touching my feet because we had like a swim class together, and I was like, okay, I have to beat this guy up now. So when we got back to the campus from swim class, I was like, all right, we're having it out, and we got in a fight, and I broke his iPod headphones like down the middle, like I tore them down the middle. And he was like, you got to pay me back for that. And I was like, all right, fine, I will tomorrow. And he goes, oh, okay. And there was an ATM and a change machine on campus. So I went to the ATM. I got how much ever money it cost back then to replace, fucking earbuds. And then I changed it into pennies. I had a big ass bag of them. And then I approached him at lunch, and I was like, I got your money. And he's like, oh, yeah? And I was like, yeah. And I dumped the pennies all over his food.
Oh my god!
He got his money.
That's so fucking...
I really hope you then looked at him like, you look a bit confused. A penny for your thoughts?
And then I punched him.
And then I broke his tibia.
Can you imagine if Marissa and I hung out when we were babies and how fucking annoying we would be?
Oh, we wouldn't be allowed to be in the same room together.
I bet we would like I don't have a reason for this. I bet we would have hated each other as little kids, just like cuz.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. When I was in high school, I would sleep talk, which was probably a bad sign.
Because you were sleeping in school.
Well, no, I meant when I was high school age, I slept talk all the time. Like you could go into my room and I would be talking, and you could also have a conversation with me and I would answer. Which is also probably bad. I actually don't know if I still do it because no one lives with me, so I don't know. But I fell asleep in a class once, and this only ever happened once where it worked out this well, but apparently I got called on, answered, and continued to sleep. And they were like, you were awake. And I was like, I was not awake. And they're like, that's bullshit. My friends were like, there's no way you fucking answered. And I'm like, I did. I guess. It never happened again.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. I'm just like so good at sleeping. No, it never worked out that way again. But just once, I got away with it.
That's very funny.
Back in high school, I had a very luxurious position where I could hang out with every clique. Didn't matter what, and all the teachers loved me. It was the best. And because of that, I remember in one of the home ec classes, I was just super zonked. It's the only time I've actually fallen asleep in class. And instead of having desks, we had like these tables that were set up for 2 seats, and mine was up against the wall. So I just rested my head against this brick wall and just laid like that. And for some reason, I just lost my, having my head against the wall. It slid. I slammed my face into the table, fell back, and just completely ass over tea kettle. And the teacher looked over and went, Jamie, stop interrupting me as I'm getting back into my chair like a drunk. They thought the class clown was the problem and not me being like, what's going on?
Oh, that's amazing.
Wow. It's the best.
Very cartoony. I'm sure I've told this to at least 2 of you, but probably not to at least half of chat. I also used to sleepwalk and talk, and the best single quick story I have of that is when because I would always need to pee, so I would find a receptacle that was hopefully toilet-shaped and pee in it, and then go back to bed. And I would be bad at finding the bathroom, so sometimes my mom would have to find me, realize I was sleep talking or walking, and direct me to the bathroom. But one time she heard a sound and realized I was walking out the front door in my underwear at 1 a.m. She said, "Where are you going?" And I said, "I'm looking for my skin." And she said, "What? Why are you going outside?" "Because skin is always outside." And I left.
Oh, that's so bad.
I believe I've told most of you, maybe all of you, the flower baby stories from high school.
I think so, but tell it again. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Chad hasn't heard them. So back in high school, our school really cut corners on things. So most of the time in high school, you have the take care of a baby for a week or 2, right? And you have the little animatronic thing, and it sucks. Well, our school didn't want to do that. So instead, everyone had to get a pound of flour and duct tape it so that it would be your baby for the week, and you had to take care of it and all that jazz.
Ooh.
So no one liked this at all. And we ran into multiple problems where people just didn't take care of them very well. My 2 favorite incidences were, it was a 2-story middle school. So you had these big stone stairs going up. And as we were going down the hall, I just heard a girl yell, "My baby!" And this duct tape bag of flour goes down all of the steps, and the moment it hits the last one, the top just bursts open and just coated the floor. So that kid failed because their baby died. Then it was the last day of taking care of these stupid babies, and we were like, all right, we're finally done with these stupid flower babies. We can turn them into the home ec class that does all the baking and cooking so that they don't have to buy it, and because I'm not bringing this home. And as we were going down the hall, we saw this trail of flour, and we're like, what the fuck? And we followed it, and under the same stairs was a different flower baby that had been stabbed multiple times in the back, and it was resting in a pool of its own flour. What the fuck?
Yes, chat, for those of you who are not American or not from certain parts of America, the baby project is real.